Welcome once again to our time together on the Parsha. This Shabbos, we have the privilege of reading Parshas Tetzaveh. The Parsha we've had occasion to mention, first of all, doesn't have the name of Moshe Rabbeinu in it at all, and it's usual that Parshas Tetzaveh is read prior to Purim, in which the Megillah doesn't have the name of Hashem at all in it. So there is a parallel, and if you have a chance to look into that, it might be proved to be quite interesting. I'd like to focus on one of the major issues in the Parsha, which is, of course, the garments of the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol wore 4 additional garments in addition to the 4 that a regular Kohen wore. The Kohen Gadol wore 4 additional garments. One of those 4 garments was the ephod. The ephod was an apron which tied at the shoulder with clasps. At the place that the shoulder tied together with clasps, the clasp was actually made out of a jewel. And the jewels on each side of the shoulder had the names of the 12 tribes on them. The Pasuk says that there was Shisha Mishmosam Ala Even Ha'achas. There were 6 names on one of the stones that acted as a clasp at one shoulder, and Shisha Mishmosam Ala Even Hasheni Kisoldosam, that the other 6 names were on the other shoulder according to their birth, and as the Mefarshim point out, it wasn't in the order of their birth, but with the exact same spelling as it was, like the name Binyamin, which is spelled throughout the Torah with only one yud, no yud between the mem and the nun at the end of the name. In this case, it was spelled with Beis Nun Yud Mem Yud Nun Kesoldosam. But what I'd like to focus on is what the purpose of these stones were. The pasuk says that v'samta eshtei avonim, you should place the 2 stones. This is in Perik Chaf Ches pasuk Yud Beis. You should place the 2 stones al kisfos ha'ephod, on the shoulders of this apron. V'nosa Aaron es shmosam lifnei Hashem, and Aaron will carry their names before God. Al shteik seifav, on his 2 shoulders, lezikaron, as a remembrance. What kind of remembrance is this talking about? Rashi himself had some difficulty with this. What did it mean, lezikaron? And he says, Sheyehiroeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu es hashvatim ksuvim lefanav, that Hashem will see the names of the shvatim written before him, v'yizkar tzidkasam, and he will remember their righteousness. The Gur Aryeh points out that if you're looking at something, if you can see something, then there's no need for remembrance, because you actually can see it. So if the names were carved out on the stones, and the stones were on the shoulder, and the names were on the stones which were on the shoulder, if Hashem would look at them, he would see the names. What does it mean he would remember their righteousness? What righteousness is needed to be remembered when you can actually see the names themselves? And what righteousness is it referring to? So the Oznayim HaTorah, Rav Zalman Sorotzkin, Zechron Levracha, has a beautiful interpretation. You know, the Aron that we spoke about in the past weeks had in it the broken set of luchos, the second set of luchos, and the Sefer Torah. This Aron was carried on the shoulders. It's interesting, we had occasion to mention that when these poles that carried the Aron, that were in the Aron, were taken and put on the shoulders of the people who carried them, the Medrash says that Ha'aron no seyes nos of, the Aron carried those who bore it, that it actually lifted them up and carried them. All they had to do was accept the burden of the Torah on their shoulders, and immediately it lifted them up. Perhaps this is what is being remembered. The Jewish people have carried on their shoulders throughout all of history the burdens of the Torah. Although many people think of them as heavy burdens, The Torah is telling us it's not a heavy burden at all. On the contrary, when you put it on your shoulders and accept the burden, it actually lifts you up. And so this is the zikaron. This is the remembrance that our HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the names on the shoulders of the Kohen. And he says, the Jewish people, just as Aaron the Kohen has carried their names on his shoulders, so have the Jewish people carried on their shoulders the Torah. And that Torah at times has been a difficult burden. But the truth of the matter is that as we bore the burden, so the burden lifted us up. So the more we kept the Torah, the lighter it became. And so it is in our day too. The commitment to the Torah may be a little difficult at first in order for us to take on all the responsibilities that it entails. But the truth is, once you get into it, it lifts you up, it raises you and carries you to the point where when Hashem looks down, he remembers all your sacrifices, and he remembers all the Jewish peoples taking the responsibility on their shoulders, and therefore lifts them up. What a beautiful lesson from the names of the Jewish people on the stones, the way they were born, that we bear the Torah, and the Torah instead bears us. Those jewels are a reminder of that uplifting thought. Have a wonderful Shabbos.